This is the Sports Business Classroom post-game show coming to you live following the San Antonio Spurs victory over the Washington Wizards with a final score of 96-85. I'm your host Josh, and joining me tonight are Ryan, Jeremy, and Brigitte. Jeremy, the Spurs were dominant for most of the game. How did they pull away in the fourth quarter?
I mean, it was all Malachi Brennan. If we're being honest, if we all saw that fourth quarter, unstoppable, 13 points in the fourth quarter. The game was still well within the reach of Washington, and you just put it away. So that's definitely the difference maker when it comes to this game.
What impressed you about his game tonight? Was it his deep shooting, or was it his ability to get to the rim?
Well, in the fourth, pretty much everything. Obviously, there was a constant flow of offense coming from him, but the fourth quarter was just it was a hot shooting streak, that's for sure. Yeah.
Were there any other players for the Spurs that you think could be impactful for the team next season?
Oh, I think they're full of nice young pieces. That being said, if I had to choose one, I would probably go with Julian Champagny. And I think he's really going to make the Sixers regret their choice of letting him go. I really do think so. He's a very, very confident player. You can see it. No matter the stat sheet tonight, I think you can see that this guy's looking to prove people wrong, and he looks like a player, quite frankly, that hasn't had a signing yet, hasn't signed his contract. He has signed a contract, but he's just ready to eat. That's what's happening.
Brigitte, tell me about CD Sissoko. What stood out about his game tonight?
Besides his pink and blue shoes, well, I happened to run into his former coach. We are good friends, and he told me that he's super excited to see him play live for the first time. And he was telling me some of his strengths, which are he passes a lot. He likes to keep his eye on his teammates, so he's like a pass shooter. He's quick. And so I did see all of those strengths come into play tonight. He was up and down the court. He was ready to keep an eye out for his teammates. He's always one step, maybe even two steps ahead of his teammates. So I really did see that turn out into play tonight.
Yeah, he definitely had some flashy passes with that behind-the-back assist in the first quarter. What are some things he could work on to make himself more NBA ready?
Absolutely. So he needs to pass the ball a bit more. He does tend to assist, but I think he needs to pass it more often. And that was a weakness that his coach told me earlier that he wishes he can improve in. He knows that he's going to take some time to develop, but he's not worried about him at all to improve in that area.
Right, and Ryan, after the Spurs added a generational talent like Wembanyama, do you think they're ready to make the playoffs this season, or is that too early?
Yeah, great question. So obviously Spurs looking at the past season, they already had a pretty young core that I was pretty high on with Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Devontae Graham, and a few other pieces. Adding a player with the caliber of Victor Wembanyama to that roster that's already assembled looks like it can raise the ceiling by quite a long shot. But I do really believe that it depends on this current Summer League roster and the younger guys that are coming in, continuing to gel and continuing to mesh well together and build chemistry and develop meaningful minutes. So we're talking about a few players. I think that Champagny and Sissoko are going to be key to that bench. We have the guys that are already on the Spurs regular season roster who are continuing to mesh and gel. From my vantage point, at least, I think that there is still a gaping hole at point guard and center in terms of the regular season rotation. However, we've seen similar things happen in the past where I think last year we were looking at the Thunder in that situation, that they were a year or two away from contention, almost made a run for the play-in spot. So we could all be proven wrong by that point. But from my vantage point right now, my perspective, it looks like San Antonio is a few pieces away from contention at the very least. Definitely, and also from a playoff spot, but I'd be happy to be proven wrong. They have another great French phenom in Victor.
Transitioning to the Wizards, Brigitte, do you think Johnny Davis looks like he's ready to make a bounce-back season after a disappointing rookie year?
Not yet. I think he still has to improve. I feel so bad saying that, but I really do think he needs to improve. He needs to step it up. If he wants to show himself and rebound from last year, he needs to turn that heat up. I really do think in tonight's game, he started off slow. He didn't have that many points. I didn't see him get a lot of action one-on-one with coming in contact with the ball. So I do need him to step it up in order to secure his spot.
What's one thing he could improve on to make a bigger impact for the Wizards next season?
he needs to shoot more. I saw him try, but he needs to. He's good defensively, but he needs to be a better offensive player.
More aggressive, that makes sense. Ryan, after Bilal Coulibaly rose up the draft boards to the 9th pick, what kind of tools did he demonstrate tonight to validate that kind of choice?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of things that I saw out of Coulibaly tonight that I really liked. Big fan of his aggressiveness as a cutter and also on defense. So I saw a lot from him, particularly in the first half, where he didn't let guys blow by him. He contributed. He switched off when a mismatch was happening, stuff like that, and really made it hard for his matchup to score. Okay. The other thing that I was thinking about was, if you look at his points per game over the course of Summer League, he was roughly on par with what he's already been contributing. Right, he had 10 points tonight. His average per game is exactly 10. But I think the bigger thing for me was his assists. Whereas points, he remained on margin. He actually had 4 assists tonight compared to a 0.5 game average. So I was really impressed by that. I thought that to me, that means that he's growing as a passer and not just a scorer. I think that those are the kind of players that we see succeed in the NBA long term. So really putting his teammates in positions to succeed, relying on the ball, running around the court, just playing off ball a lot, being able to succeed in those scenarios and not just as a scorer, that's what meant a lot to me tonight. And I think that validated his draft stock rising from late first round to a lottery pick.
Right. Jeremy, after trading Bradley Beal, the Wizards are definitely in rebuilding mode, and they're looking for some new talent wherever they can find it. Were there any under-the-radar players that you saw tonight that stood out to you?
Yeah, I do believe nobody talks about him, but their second-round pick, Tristan Vucevic, was definitely impressive tonight. There might be a little bit of questions regarding his footwork on defense. That was a little bit slow on that end, but realistically, someone that's extremely fast for his size, obviously a 7-footer that can move very well. And I was very, very impressed. I think if we're taking a look at their depth chart as well, he has a chance to potentially be a backup center for their team. So I do believe if he does prove to take some time to actually get better, he can definitely make an impression on this team. I was surprised he was selected at 42nd. I thought he would go more in the 20s, to be fair. And yeah, that's who actually surprised me tonight.
All right, that's all for our show tonight. This has been the SBC post-game show. Thanks so much for tuning in.